So welcome everyone. Good evening. We are recording this and we are streaming live on Facebook. So if you're joining us on Facebook, welcome. Tonight I should start off with introducing myself, which I always forget to do. My name is Grace Ann Taylor. I'm the Education and Outreach Coordinator at Save Barnegat Bay. And tonight we have our first ever film screening discussion, which we're really excited about. So due to COVID restrictions, we screened the film prior to this event. So hopefully most of you got the chance to watch it. If you have not gotten the chance to watch The Story of Plastic, I believe the link was sent to you and it is still live. So you can, if you're interested, watch it after this, which is a film that we're going to discuss tonight. And as a post discussion for the film and the things that you watched there, we have two speakers. We have Angela Anderson and Tanara Hall. So Angela Anderson has been involved in the environmental community for over 30 years, and she's been at Long Beach Township for over 10 years as a sustainability coordinator. Not only that, she was the producer of the Oyster Farmers film, which if you haven't seen that film, we will probably screen it at some point, but you should definitely catch it. It is really fantastic and it's very local. And it turns out Angela has some other surprises up her sleeve of things to discuss in regards to the film and her experience. And so I'm thrilled to have her. And then, so Angela's going to focus on the plastic bag ban and the history of recycling in New Jersey, and the plastic bag ban moving forward. And then we have Tanara Hall with us, who has been involved in the environmental community for over 10 years and has been at the Island Heights Sustainable Jersey team for 5, and now serves has been working for 2 years at the Ocean County Waste Management Program. So she handles recycling coordination and the compost program and all the things that Ocean County Waste Management to do with outreach and public engagement and things of that nature. So we have a perspective from how things are recycled currently in our county, and if you have any questions regarding any processes in that way. So I thought it would make sense to start with Angela Anderson. So what the format of tonight is, we're all in this informal kind of setting where we are going to be kind of discussing less screen share, less PowerPoint. And if you have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat or raise your hand or unmute yourself, and we'll get everyone's questions. So we're going to allow Angela to speak kind of freely for a little while, and then Tanara on her end of things, and then we'll segue into everyone having the opportunity to kind of poke them for questions based on their expertise. So yeah, just to kind of quickly summarize the film, just in case you haven't seen it. The Story of Plastic is a film that goes over the history of recycling and also where we are now in the frame of recycling, and how plastic is not necessarily I'm trying to figure out a way to eloquently describe it quickly. So I think one of the biggest takeaways I got from the film is that when we consume plastic, the production process and the recycling process are both almost invisible to the consumer. And so there's these parts of this process that happen on either end of us using plastic that we don't necessarily see or understand day to day if we're not in this business. And so those are actually where the broken parts and pieces are to our consumption of plastic. So in no way, shape, or form is anyone suggesting that we don't need plastic. In fact, we do need plastic. I think the overarching theme is that we need to be more responsible with how we extract the crude materials out of the ground, how we produce the plastic, how we create, build it into something else, and then how we take care of it once we're done using it. So again, if you haven't seen the film and you need the link to do so, it's still live. I'll get it to you. Otherwise, I would like to give the floor over to Angela to discuss your expertise and your view and your history. So take it away.
Okay, great. Thank you, Grace Ann, Save Barnegat Bay, for having me tonight. I think it's very difficult having to be disconnected from people. So thank God for these platforms to be able to connect in some way, if not on a human level. So I appreciate you guys, your stick to itiveness to really stay creative with connecting with the community on these really important topics that are so dynamic. I have to say, in my 30 years of working on this kind of stuff, this past year, I've never seen the legislators move so much legislation through. I mean, it's mind blowing because I think everybody's sort of like not taking spring recess and whatever they're doing. So the productivity of a lot of this stuff that we've been working on for years started coming to fruition over this past year. So I always try to find the silver lining. But thank you. So thank you for inviting me, and it's an honor to be alongside Tanara. She's one of my favorite new colleagues in Ocean County Recycling. So a little bit about me. I'm Angela Anderson. So I'm speaking to you from my home down here on Long Beach Island in North Beach Haven. So I'm a Jersey girl. But I've lived down here on Long Beach Island for a long time, for like 27 years. So I have two teenage boys. We're on our fourth golden retriever. My husband's born and raised here. My kids are, fifth generation Bayman. Really invested in it. I started doing this kind of work as a young girl when I was looking to go to college, and my mom, said, "What do you like to do?" I said, "I like to go to the beach." So she said, "We'll go to school for that." And I was like blown away as a 17-year-old that you could go to school for things related to the beach and the ocean. So that was a long time ago, and I found it to just be my ministry. So I just, I'm thankful to be where I am. And it's not work; it's a pleasure to get to do this. So I work for Long Beach Township, and I live in Long Beach Township. I started working for the town when my second child was in preschool. And at the time I was working, I was a South Jersey director for the American Littoral Society in Tuckerton. I founded that office in 1997. So with Derry Bennett. So I would say the film, I'm guessing everybody watched it, but you don't have to raise your hand if you didn't. But I think when it comes to documentary films, I think it's really important. This one is stellar and fantastic. So I think that's important because you could get led down a road of sadness or, hopelessness when you see some of the scenes that you saw in the film. And I know Stiv Wilson personally, the writer producer of the film. I met him in 2012, the week before Hurricane Sandy. We had him here. I had him at Long Beach Township to give a talk. He was on a bike tour, educating people about plastics on his last straw bike tour up the eastern seaboard. So we had a presentation with him, and he gave me a little vial of the little sargassum, the nurdles out of one of their trawl nets. Had pizza and some beers, and then a week later, Sandy hit. So I know his depth of knowledge and dedication. So it's inspiring to see where he's taken his course. So knowing what you're watching and who's producing it is so critical. And I think this was really well done. My favorite piece of this film was the last statement that said, "You can't trick people forever." And then it just cut out. And it was like, there you go. We've all been, no matter how old you are, we've been snowed. We've been, lied to and made to believe that we're messy, we're slobs. The crying Indian part of it. Anybody that watched commercials in the 70s would see the crying Indian, "Keep America Beautiful." He's crying. People cause pollution. People can, fix it, kind of a thing. And he's an Italian American actor. Iron Eyes Cody. He was in some Bob Hope films. Looked like which is now I think would be so wrong for anybody to be like, "Oh, he looks like a Native American. Like, let's have him play one in a commercial," and blame everybody for the litter everywhere. That was a genius marketing by the American Chemistry Council to create Keep America Beautiful, to put the blame onto us as a consumer. We're just slobs. We don't know what to do with our soda can, so we just throw it. But again, we can't keep tricking people forever. It is not the way that it's going to be anymore. So when it comes to plastics and recycling, plastic is not a terrible material. It is a godsend. I think all of us probably know and love somebody that was saved in a hospital because of a sanitary plastic catheter or heart transplant, anything. It is a miraculous material that can become anything. And it's that misuse of that genius material that was created for useless, senseless items that we didn't know that we couldn't live without someone telling us in an ad that we needed that forever. So I always like to just have a little bit of a love story with plastic before you really start to look into the nitty gritty of how duped we were, by the producers of all of these products. So it's just something to reflect on, as you explore how you're going to relate to plastics moving forward after learning a little bit more about it. But in New Jersey, I'm very proud to be a Jersey girl, and New Jersey's been a leader in recycling. We were the first state in New Jersey. 1987 was but there was a lot of work before 1987. But 1987, we passed the first mandatory source separation recycling law in the country. Very progressive, and a lot of people worked together to make that happen. We tried a few different things, in the late 70s, early 80s, really starting to be accountable for the materials that we were getting rid of. At that time, I don't know if any of you remember, we were proposing to put an incinerator in every one of the counties in New Jersey. And it was like, hold on, like, let's get a handle on what material we have. Let's pull out, source separate out some of this material before we justify, burning it. They were definitely called incinerators back then. They were a lot less called, resource recovery or waste to energy. They were incinerators back then. So we had a 25% reduction goal in 1987. My father's Paul Cantillo, he was the state Senate sponsor for that bill. And so I've been sort of enmeshed in these conversations basically my whole life. And in that piece of legislation, it was written in there. Think about what Jersey was like in the late 80s. We had built in end markets here. So in that law, we had Market Development Council, state, Solid Waste Advisory Council at the state level. We wrote that all in there. We were like, we had Snapple, we had Anheuser-Busch, we had Ocean Spray bottling. We were a glass production state. We are a sand state, and we know that that's how you make glass. So we were bottling and distributing like crazy. So we sort of felt like we got this, like we can really build these markets. And somewhere along the line, we blew it and we sold out. And, China came into the picture, and it became just, easier, cheaper, whoever you want to ask. The long story short is we abandoned those original goals in the original recycling legislation to domestic infrastructure, in-state end markets, and that type of a thing. So China, we couldn't resist. We're buying all of these things coming into our ports. Basically, they need ballast in their ships to go back over. So they'll take anything, right? So at the time, it was just like maybe a lot of, say it's pulp or whatever, and they bring it back, and it was just an easy way out. We totally failed in what the original agenda was, and we're paying the price for it now. But at least we are eyes wide open now. We know that we blew it, and it took China to be coming with their national sword, green fence, to say, we're not taking your stuff anymore. So this is happening simultaneous to us seeing the crying Indian, being duped, saying, we're just going to buy stuff and then we can recycle it. And then maybe it doesn't, it was all happening at the same time. And I think one of the other, statements in the film that I thought was really poignant was the crisis is not starting with the plastic in the waterways. It's starting, when you're pulling this, non-renewable resource out of the ground. And that like Sam was saying, that invisible has now become visible. So there's a lot of really poignant statements in that film if you really start breaking it down, to again help people open their eyes to say, we're seeing the crisis now and it's disgraceful, and we can change that. And I think what I'm seeing in my activity with an organization called the Association of New Jersey Recyclers is we're seeing statewide, we're saying, no, we're going back to market development. We're going back to really wanting to have a state solid waste advisory council. And for the first time ever, we're seeing, I don't know if it's, I can send the link to Grace Ann. There's at least 7 proposed pieces of federal legislation addressing, marine debris, recycling, sustainable resource management, recycled content. These are tremendous strides for New Jersey to be taking, and now at a federal level to be like, no, domestic infrastructure, and doing that. One of the nicest animations in the film towards the end was also a nice way for people to understand when you hear the terminology closed loop economy or system. We're in a linear system right now with everything we touch in our that in our life comes from the earth, right? So we take it, we use it, and then we toss it. It's very linear, and we know that we have to circulate that. And they had a beautiful, sort of a cartoon caricature of how we can return that, how to close that loop. So I thought that was a really brilliant way to say something that would take a week to really talk about in a real, like maybe 2 minutes, that we're just like, oh, there's a couple of other R's. I forgot about that. There's reduce, there's reuse. The last thing we want you to do is recycle, but we've completely abandoned those things unless we're kind of feeling, I'm not buying as much stuff, or I'm bringing my bag with me to the grocery store. Fantastic. But on this larger scale, that's kind of not what we mean anymore. It's you really have to hold accountable the people that are producing these materials, and we're not doing that. As soon as they have to pay or have some ownership to all of these 7 different kind of plastics, and the burden as me as a municipal recycling coordinator and the taxpayer is absolutely got to end. We cannot carry the burden of trying to figure out what to do with all the stuff that you buy, and it's not our fault. You have a large family you have to feed, you have to go to a big box store, it's affordable. I'm sorry that all your apples are individually wrapped, but it's like people shouldn't have to be making those kind of choices. And we're really at a time when we can change that, and we can close that loop. We can have our agricultural loop. I was joking. I went to like a farm to get my produce, and I was like, hey, you guys didn't get stuck in the Suez Canal, huh? It's like shortening that loop, that local investment of infrastructure, of farming, of purchasing, of production, tightening up our own little ships here is so doable, and people are ready for it. I feel like, again, it's one of the silver linings I see from this horrible situation that we're in, is people are paying attention to the food they're eating. They're understanding the word supply chain. They're like, what, toilet paper? It didn't even occur to people. So we have this golden moment. And a film like this can really, like, you watch it a few more times, because this was probably the 3rd or 4th time I've watched it. I've been on a couple of other panels with it. And I was like, I missed that part of it. Really, each little statement. And I think we really have a chance for change, and working with the legislators, working within our community, and investing here. So one of the, pieces of legislation, I guess, that is the most tangible for us as consumers to think about is, we call it the plastic bag ban, but it's so much more than that. But it's S864 Senate bill to be enacted in May of 2022. Huge amount of organizations in the state of New Jersey have been working on this for years, along with the food waste reduction, legislation, both of which have passed in the last year, which is really great. Senator Smith is fantastic. Every group that you can think of has worked on different iterations of this. And I think this plastic bag ban bill tested a lot of the groups, Anjar, Anjac, Clean Ocean Action, Surfrider, everybody, same goals, slightly different angle that they're coming from, and realize like we can't keep trying to negotiate and try to get our best version of this. We've got to say what's going to be the best next step to get us to the next step, to the next step. And that's a little hard to swallow sometimes for some of us that have been working on something and staying true to our mission of our organization and our membership. But this is tremendous because it's all inclusive. You have the plastic carryout bag, you have the straw, you have the hard foam carryout containers. One of the distinctions I want people to know, because I've seen it broadcast incorrectly, we put a summary together through the Association of New Jersey Recyclers. We have a wonderful legislative team, and we have like a little summary, but I think it's important to look, it's not a ban on a total ban on paper. Okay, there's a difference between a store and a grocery store when you really look at the legislation. So it says no store or food service business shall provide or sell a single-use plastic carryout bag within 18 months. But then after that, it says beginning 18 months after the bill signed, no grocery store shall provide or sell a single-use paper carryout bag. So the paper is really geared towards the grocery. So I had bigger, larger surf shops like, well, I can't, use paper. And it's like, no, I'll read you the legislation. I know it's read that way in the newspaper or however. Those are important distinctions, because it kind of froze up some of the smaller businesses that were still large, and that they can still provide paper. Again, the goal is reusable bag, but I think the bill is well done. I think it's very implementable. Long Beach Township introduced our single-use carryout ban in 2017. We've had a lot of misinformation, and fairly with COVID and not knowing. I remember this time last year, like cleaning all of our groceries down. It's terrifying. But the reality is there's no reason that we can't keep moving forward with reusing your own bag. Now I know when I bring my reusable bag, I'm usually at self-checkout for like the 4 times I've been out since this, but I don't want to get my stuff delivered because it all comes in single-use plastic. And I'm thinking someone's going to take a picture of my front porch with my Instacart. I'm like, but I was really busy today, I swear, But what happened is now I know Albertsons owns all the Acmes. Wakefern owns all the ShopRites. They're not collecting the films and the plastics anymore. They're like, well, COVID. And you're like, all right, you go to, it doesn't matter. You're not going to convince them. That's not the right track to do. So I think people misunderstood also those recycling for plastic bags at the grocery store entrances to be just for plastic bags. They're for films, and films are your outer wraps, potato bags, carrot bags, outer wraps, paper towels, toilet paper. So I know like Bradley Beach, some of the other smaller towns, and we're starting one now, a film collection for people to get that sort of plastic that can't go into the recycling bin, but does have an end market through Trex and lumber and things like that. So our initial campaign that we're starting this month in Long Beach Township is through Beyond the Bag with Next Trex, and you get 50 or 500 pounds of film, and you get a bench. But I think we already have 500 pounds of film just from people in the building. I haven't even gotten the box out into the foyer or down into the DPW, but we're happy. We have a nice relationship. Home Depot will be our conduit for that. And this will lead us into, I am actually applying the Sustainable Jersey for our permanent this for Friday. I think the deadline is for that grant. And I think once people realize, like, I feel really good. I bought a canvas bag to the store and I just came home. But then once you unwrap your groceries, you're just like, what? Look at this giant pile of plastic film from the toilet paper, the paper towels, the case of soda. So there are outlets. And I know Tanara is excellent at trying to find like how to recycle the unrecyclable. Like she definitely has really done a fantastic job at that at the county level. And I'm thankful as a municipal coordinator to have someone like Tanara at the county level to help translate these things and show people, because people want to do this. They want to say, like, I have spent markers or whatever it is. Legos, there's another life for it. There's TerraCycle. And I know, Gracie, and you guys do a lot of that other type of TerraCycle collection. So we got this. Like we're doing this on the nonprofit level, the local level, the county level, the state level, federal level. And we can help you guys, the consumers, us, the taxpayers, not feel so bad about ourselves. And by the way, the tear in the crying Indian, that was glycerin they put in his eye to make it look like a tear. So you're kind of like, again, you can't trick us forever. We're getting wise to this, and we're going to hold the producers responsible, because that's the only way that the pipeline is going to stop. And we're going to invest in local economies, and everyone's going to come out on the other side of this happy, healthy, and prosperous. So that's just a little spiel.
Oh my gosh, there were so many things.
And I am it's been a while since I lived in North Jersey. I try not to talk really fast, but I get excited about this stuff.
No, it's fantastic. And I'm hoping that it stirred a lot of questions in everyone's minds. I just want to drop a resource in the chat, and it's in the Facebook already comments thread. But I found this website, I think Jack is the one behind it. It's called NewJerseyNoPlastics.org. And I thought it did a really clean, neat job of outlining how the bag ban is going to impact our municipal folks, our residential folks, and our business folks. Because I think, when a law is being passed, or when it's in the process and when it's still in its build phase, I think there's a lot of rumors that go round and round, and certain people want to paint it a certain way, good or bad, to get the outcome that they most need for their livelihood. And so I think this website does a really nice job of confirming the true things and debunking the not true things, so that everyone has the facts, because it is a law, which means it is a fact. An opinion is now, it doesn't matter. It's already a thing. So in a year, you can go to this website and know exactly how it's going to impact each and every one of us at different, levels. And there were so many things that you went over, and I think it's a perfect segue. First, you know what? While it's fresh, because you went over a lot of things. Does anyone have any questions for Angela directly about anything she discussed? We're a really small group here in the Zoom. You're welcome to unmute yourself. And those of you on Facebook, please feel free to drop the comment and I'll read it out loud. And
you can put my email in the chat. Anybody that wants to just directly get in touch with me, down the road with anything. Anderson, SEN.
Britta always goes over the difference between you and her family. There we go. Angela's email is there. Go ahead, Brett.
I had a question. I wrote it down. Let me just read it out. Okay. I see problems with the efficacy of recycling all the time. People don't know how to recycle, or it's inconvenient, so they don't do it. How do we make it more accessible?
Yeah, no, it's definitely an imperfect system. So I think one of the things that we're going to do that's going to make it more successful is continuity of what's recyclable. In New Jersey, the way we wrote the law was the state made the law, the counties have to make a plan, and the municipalities have to implement the plan to their respective communities. So every county in New Jersey has slightly different recycling rules based on their machinery and their end markets. It's got to stop, because especially in a town like mine, where every day in the summer, people are like, well, I can recycle this in Bergen County. I'm like, well, you can recycle it in Ocean County. So they don't get that. That's got to go. Yeah. And that is one of the top priorities, that continuity. This is what you recycle in New Jersey. And that way we help people. North Jersey, it's not fair. Maybe they have better end market opportunities up in North Jersey for, say, a foam or something. Not accessible to us for maybe a longer drive when the cost analysis is there. So then how do we shift that to try to figure that out? But I think that's going to be one of the biggest things, is continuity of what's recyclable broadly across New Jersey, developing markets so that when we can expand what is there, and because you can educate all you want. I think also one little thing, I don't want Tanara to talk, I'm sorry, but one of the most misused symbols in our world is the recycling symbol. I got to meet the guy who produced that in an art contest in the 70s. Gary Anderson was a student at UC Berkeley and was in, American Paper Council was having an art contest for a logo for their paper thing. He did a play on the Mobius strip, created the recycling symbol, got $2,000. He was, a young guy in college, never trademarked it or anything, and was on his way. I met him down at Stockton for the 25th anniversary of recycling, and he's just like, yeah, that was a missed opportunity, huh? You're like, yeah, that's a big missed opportunity. But it doesn't mean that that material is recyclable, and you cannot tell anybody on that planet that that is not what that symbol is for the manufacturers to know what type of resin it is. It should be erased from visual sight of anything. People are seduced by it, and you can't tell them that something that has a recycling symbol on it doesn't belong in the blue bin. It's better to fight just getting it off of everything that we possibly can, and giving
Right.
Gary a trip to the Caribbean or something for for creating that symbol.
Yeah, because every day I have problems like telling my family, like, no, that's not recyclable. I print out a piece of paper, so it shows everything, the county's recyclables, and they still get it wrong. So I can imagine every other household is getting it wrong.
It is an extreme uphill battle, and every single day is a new day. But that's the goal. So we work on that. We work on end markets and continuity.
So thank you, Brett, for that. First of all,
Yep.
for your dedication in your household, because that is awesome and so appreciated. I know Tanara is secretly thanking you because that's her job professionally. Two, I just want to say this before we get another question for Angela, that I would love it if Tanara could briefly go over what happens when your stuff leaves your curb. So just keep that in mind, Tanara, if you can kind of tell, reveal the secret that no one knows. But before we move on, I just want to make sure we capture any questions for Angela, so that she did go over a lot, and I want to make sure we get it. Anyone else?
I just have a question in general. Do you know by any chance, has it ever gotten bad with like plastic and garbage in Ocean County that you know of?
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
Like, yeah, like has it gotten to the point where like it was like so bad? Is
No,
that
like
why?
the images that we see in Tanara will be able to definitely speak to this. I think the problems we're seeing in Ocean County are not like the flowing of the rivers full of it, is the machinery at the county suffering from inappropriate materials being put into the system and costing, time and money in that. That I would say it's a little bit less, we do have dumping out in the pines and things like that, but I think we're getting a handle on the marine pollution that we mostly see on our shores here in Long Beach Island, for instance, are coming from the combined sewer overflow in the 5 boroughs of New York. So that's not even our stuff, but it shows up here based on the currents that come from New York Harbor and things like that. So that we can't fight against those combined sewer overflows overflowing all of that material out into the water. So, but Tanara might have a different answer.
So I just want to highlight a few things there. Debbie, to answer your question, anecdotally, I noticed from my own experience living in the county for 25 years, and also from being in this community for over 10, that I find that the pollution that you're discussing or referring to happens to pile up most in places where people are not accountable for keeping it clean. So places where beaches are being visited by tourists, places where people own a property such as an apartment complex or a business, those places are held accountable for keeping things cleaned up. The places where I anecdotally notice the most non-point source pollution trash piling up is on roadsides and places where property owners aren't necessarily easily identifiable, and it's easy to just think that throwing something out the window and or it not being taken care of all the time, that it can be there. So yeah, that we don't have it's not like you see in the film where it's all piled up terrible like that. Had another thought, and hopefully it'll come back, but I think, does anyone else have a question for Angela? Chelsea, you're unmuted. Maybe. Oh no.
Yeah. Well, it's not exactly a question, just kind of a response, a comment. Sometimes watching these kind of documentaries, and I just watched Seaspiracy too, they can just leave you feeling kind of disheartened, and just not feeling like we can do anything that's going to really make an impact. So it was just really nice hearing your perspective and also getting action items, because that gives me a sense of hope and, and different resources that I can share with others as well. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. And I think that's when I led off with I just happen to know Stiv, but really knowing the documentary you're watching, Seaspiracy is unfortunately a lot of misguided information in there, and it's really going to be impossible to undo some of the stuff in people's minds. So you have to watch who's sponsoring the creation of what documentary is. So, but it's important to know. And I said, in my documentary, we decided to go the avenue of hope and solutions, and I think that this one did a good job in that. So thank you.
I carefully selected this film, and I made sure that the campaign efforts on the backside of this film were in line with the folks here in New Jersey. So the Break Free from Plastic campaign is a national one, but I know that the same nonprofits and entities that helped write this law for New Jersey are in fact signed on to that same national legislation effort. So I made sure of that before I asked everyone to watch it, because documentaries like this can definitely pull at your heartstrings and may or may not be everything that you want to be digesting. So without further ado, I really want to give Tanara the floor to discuss the process of what happens when it leaves your curb. And then this is your chance, Tanara. You have about 18 people listening that you can preach the good word about how to take care of your plastic bags and recycling.
All right. Well, I'll try to do my best, and I hope everybody can learn a little bit. And if you have any questions, just write them down or put them on the chat. So let's start. I'm originally from Costa Rica. I went to school in Costa Rica for environmental health, which I think sounds weird to everyone, but I always just loved the environment, and there was no other choice for me. That's what I wanted to do. So when I moved to the States, I moved because I met my husband, and it was kind of hard to find a job, right? Coming here. So I just couldn't stay home and not do anything. So that's when I tried to sign up for volunteering in the town, and I found the environmental committee. So that's how everything started. So to begin with, when I moved here, I come from a really green country in Costa Rica. Everything is around sustainability. That's all you hear about. Everything is about sorting your recyclables, do your best, clean everything. So it's a little different than the way we do it here. And when I first started recycling here, I was doing it wrong, because I didn't realize myself that recycling changes everywhere. And I'm so embarrassed, but that's the truth. That's what really happened to me, and it happens to everyone. So now that made me think even more. If I did it wrong and I was all about it, like I love, the planet and I want to do it right, and I did it wrong without thinking about it, everyone that is not even thinking about the environment is going to do whatever they thought it was the best way to do it, period. And yeah, the recycling symbol, a deal breaker, because it gives everyone a hope that is not actually there. So I'm gonna take you to the magical place of recycling, and and maybe now we can understand a little bit more how it works. First of all, I always recommend reuse and reduce are the best things to do. Recycling, as Angela said it before, is the last resource you should use. And I always tell people, vote with your wallet. So every time you buy something that is not recyclable or compostable and it's just going to be thrown in the trash, you're supporting a market, and you are telling people that you're fine buying that, just give it to me. And I understand if you try to buy a full week of groceries with no plastic, you're going to come home empty-handed, because that happened to me before. So I get it. It's difficult. It's not easy. Okay, so Angela already said every county has different rules, and the municipalities are responsible to collect the materials from their residents. And some towns have different programs with businesses. So businesses have to hire their own hauler, which means someone that is going to pick up their recyclables and trash, but they have to bring it to the recycling center from the county. So no matter who picks your recyclables up in any town in Ocean County, or if you have to bring it to your recycling center, like in I think it's Bayhead, they don't have curbside collection. And it doesn't matter if you are in a restaurant in LBI or Toms River, all your recyclables are going to come to the Ocean County Northern Recycling Center. And we have a lot of equipment that is going to sort every material. And I get it. I want this world to be clean, and I wish we could recycle more materials. But if you saw the amount of, between trash and recycling we get is insane. We get at least 300 tons, per day of materials. And not everything is recyclable because everybody does whatever they thought was the best. And then we have to sort every single item. And we don't do it by hand because that will be impossible. Thank God for robots, are our best friends in recycling. But we also use human beings. We always need that human eye to manually select some of the stuff. But it's a tough job. I'm not going to say it's not. And we have these beautiful robots that shoot a light on top of the material, and then we'll sort it out. Oh, this is cardboard. That goes this way. This type of paper goes this way. And then we move all the commingled materials, we call it the cans and the plastics, to the other building where they will be sorted out by type. So we only take, for plastic, we only take bottles, jars, and jugs. That's it. We don't take clamshell containers. We don't take anything that does not look like a bottle, a jar, or a jug. And then I always get the same question. So what about the yogurt tops? Again, is that a bottle? No. Is that a jar? No, it's not. Is that a jug? No, it's not. And it's hard to take the truth when you really want something to be recyclable, because you don't want to stop eating yogurt, and you don't want to stop buying butter. And I get it. That happens to me too. But they are not recyclable in Ocean County. And sometimes you can see the same number in a bottle, and then a clamshell container. Yeah, they have the same number, but they are not the same material. They burn differently. They have to be recycled differently. And honestly, I haven't seen anywhere in the world, after my private investigations, my personal investigations, a place that will recycle the clamshell containers. Is just not a good material to be recycled. And plastic can only be recycled so many times, as you saw it on the film. There will be a moment that it has no more value, and then there's nothing you can do with it. And it gets to a point that it just becomes ashes. So even if you really wanted to recycle that, there is no way to do it. So it's not the county being bad or trying to be cheap or being mean. No, we really want to do what's best, but sometimes there's just no a way to do it. And even if we wanted to, or add money to sort it, there's no way to send it. So what are we going to do? Just keep it in our recycling center forever until something magical happens? No, we can't. Recycling is really a business, and that's what it is. And every time you buy something, you got to think, this has to go somewhere after I use it. And that's going to be either the landfill, which you're paying that space with your taxes, or it's going to go to the recycling center, which, for now, we are not paying. Actually, the county paid the towns for so many years. It was a very profitable business, and everybody was happy. So everybody was like, yeah, recycle more. But now we got to a point that we're not making money, and we're still not charging the towns because the county really wants to keep it free for residents. So it is cheaper for you as a resident to recycle rather than throwing something in the garbage. But you can recycle everything again. And even cheaper is to try to reduce your waste. So if you don't have anything that you have to send somewhere, that's gonna save you money, because these are your tax money that you are paying with your hard work trying to solve that problem. And I have to say, it's not just because I work for the county. The Ocean County has a wonderful program, because we don't only take plastics, cans, and glass and paper. We also take so many other types of materials in our special drop-off. You can bring huge plastic, rigid plastic, toys. You can bring buckets. You can bring even some household hazardous waste like motor oil, antifreeze. We take a lot of materials, up to 19 different types, at our recycling centers, and they are free for residents, and that will definitely help you reduce your waste. And let me just see my notes from when Angela was talking. So like, oh my gosh, she was so prepared. I need to do this. So, well, I also want to say, every time you buy something, really just buy what's good for you and your family. And no one can judge you, because no one knows if you can afford something that is more eco-friendly, and who knows if it's really more eco-friendly. But just try to use what you have, do the best you can, and try to keep everything at home. So let's talk about a little bit of food waste. Instead of throwing stuff like that in the garbage, you can compost that at home and reduce your waste that way. When the farmers markets are open, bring your own containers and run to the farmers market, support the local businesses, and try to keep everything local. So less transportation, less packaging, and you're supporting someone from your community, and that money is gonna stay there. And one more thing, think about if things are really that convenient. So it's really that convenient to use a plastic cup with a straw? Because if you tell me that extracting petroleum from the ground, processing it, then transporting it, making it plastic, packaging it, sending it to a store so you can buy it and throw it out is more convenient than just grab something you have at home, then I don't know what I'm talking about, I guess, because this is just not, yeah, just these buying and throwing things out, it's just crazy. So think about it. Is it really more convenient? It's definitely not. And remember that if there's no market, it can be recycled, even if we wanted to. And I think that's it. I don't know if I missed something on the recycling angle.
Yes. So I love that you gave those really tangible calls to action, because I think it can, like we said before, it can be really hard to leave a film like that and be like, I don't know what to do. You just told me that reducing my plastic use isn't going to really make a difference in the world. But we'll go over more calls to action at the end. But there is a critical step that I think I want you to reveal if you have the information. At the recycling center, which, by the way, you all can take a tour of when COVID is done being COVID. And Tanara will gladly take you on a tour. But the plastic and paper and cans gets pulled into these giant bales, these giant cubes. I mean, giant. The forklifts have to lift them up and move them. And then these bales go out to wherever the resource is being sold to try and regain some capital money back into the recycling process. So could you tell us where those things are going? Because I think a lot of people heard in the news that like China shut down all of their accepting of our stuff. And so people are confused. They're like, oh, China stopped accepting our stuff, so should we recycle? What's happening now? Where are we in that spectrum? Where do these bales go of at least plastic, if you can talk about that one?
All right, so Ocean County, we try to market it everywhere we can, because we obviously don't want to be stuck with all these materials at the recycling center. That being said, it really goes everywhere in the world that we can try to make money or at least get rid of it. So many times we're not gonna make anything and we might lose some money, but we try to send it. What I understand is it's better to ship it by, ship, because it's more economic. Every time you try to send something by truck is more expensive. So China was amazing because they will take anything and sort it out, but now we know what happens when they are sorting it out. So it wasn't a great idea. I remember at the beginning, They were looking for markets in Vietnam and some other Asian countries. And now we know again what happens when they get the materials. So not great. I was always telling them, how come we don't go to Latin America? The market is tiny and they are very self-sufficient. So they recycle everything from their own country. So they are not really trying to buy our stuff, which is also very contaminated. So it has no value. If we were great at recycling and we only recycle what we should, then we will have a premium product. And everyone in the world would be, begging us for our material. But the sad part is we don't have a great material in the States in general, not saying just Ocean County. We have great equipment and we really try to do our best, but still it's a tough market. Everybody in the world is trying to sell their materials. There are no local markets really. No one in the States pretty much recycles glass. You don't see any plastic recycling facilities. That's not a thing. And I heard paper is coming back, but they are not American companies. They are foreign companies that are trying to create the pulp here and then ship it. So it's the same but different product we're shipping. So it's tough. I wish we could sell it to Americans, but we can't. So I really can't tell you where exactly everything goes because it goes to so many different places. But Asia is definitely one of them. And yeah, so really anywhere we can sell it, then it will be sold. And we use a broker, so it's not the county selling it directly. It's the whole system, and they study the markets and they really find the best way to make it cost effective.
And it can change. It can change pretty frequently too. I mean,
Oh yeah.
Day to day or week to week, it could be bales of stuff can be going in different directions depending
Yeah.
on
Yeah, they have a whole different list of customers, and whoever is requesting, then they will ship it to them. So during the pandemic with the toilet paper, yeah, our cardboard and paper was, selling like crazy because everybody was desperate to get paper. So really everything that happens around the world is gonna demand the materials that we're selling. And it makes me think about now we want to recycle all this plastic, and then it's really downcycling into plastic bags and things that we're just going to throw out. So what is going to happen when the world is done with plastic? So what are we going to do next? It's scary because what are we going to do?
I want to ask you a question just to tease out something you said. You said that our plastic isn't high enough quality. Is there anything that a homeowner can do to make it more high quality for use or resale? Washing it, peeling labels off, taking bottle caps off, whatever.
Yeah, so just make sure your recyclables are always clean and dry so they don't contaminate other products. If something has food in it, just think about recycling it like cooking. So when you cook, you want everything clean and beautiful so you can make a beautiful dish and have a great end product. Same with recycling. If you have all these plastics that are full of food and grease, what are you gonna get at the end? You're not gonna get something good. And they really measure contamination. So even with paper and cardboard. So just make sure the item you're recycling is on the list, and then make sure it's clean, make sure it's dry, and put it on recycling day. Cover your recycling can, because if it rains, then the paper and the cardboard can't be even recycled anymore after that. So just cover it from rain and wind and stick to the list. And if you have any questions, call the county. We will always help you, or go to our website. And if we don't have the answer, we'll find out the best answer as quick as possible.
I just had a quick question. Are alkaline batteries, do you guys accept that?
No. All right. So for batteries, we accept not quartzite. You have to bring it to the recycling centers, only rechargeable batteries. And I know that's confusing, and you see a value on the alkalines because it has the metals. But now they tell you they are safe to throw in the garbage. I don't like that answer because I don't like to throw anything in the garbage.
Yeah.
There are private programs like Call to Recycle, but you have to purchase a box for $65, and it will hold up to 50 pounds. So it will take you a year if you are in Island Heights to fill one up. But if you really don't want to throw it out, and maybe you have some other people that is interested, that is the option I like the best, instead of saying throw in the garbage.
Okay.
So I just want to put a plug in for the Ocean County Landfill as well. They offer tours. The Ocean County Landfill is out in Manchester, and so it's really interesting to see, and it's only going to be around for about 20 more years. At some point, it will fill to capacity, and we will have to figure out where our trash is going after that. So it is in our interest to figure out how to deal with both our waste issue and our recycling issue, because it's all kind of tangled together. I did put a link in the chat for Tanara's direct Ocean County resource. So the co.ocean.nj.us solid waste management link in the chat, and I also put it in the Facebook. And within that link is all of the information you need at the county level for recycling, and included in there is a very handy application that you can download on your phone. Tanara, can you tell them a little bit about that?
So Recycle Coach is free for anyone, any town in New Jersey, and is this amazing app that will tell you when your garbage pickup is, your recycling pickup, special events as well. And you can type any material and it will tell you if it if it's recyclable curbside, or you have to bring it somewhere, or you have to throw it in the garbage. If you don't like the answer and you don't think it's right, you can always send us an email. We found mistakes in the past, so it's not perfect, but it's a great resource. So I would definitely recommend for everyone to download it on their phones, and you will never miss recycling pickup again. That's their tagline. And about the landfill, I also wanted to say, yeah, that's the truth. There's going to be a point that we're going to have to find a new place for our trash, and there are no properties around us to build a new one. So that means we're going to have to send it somewhere far away. That means your taxes will go up and it's going to be more expensive. Now we're really lucky because we have a wonderful landfill, which is privately owned, but they do an amazing job. So if you are into trash, just like I am, go there. It's a great place.
So the landfill tour is actually pretty cool. Like, you don't think like going to visit a heap of trash is going to be a fun thing, but it's actually a really fun thing. Yeah, and Save Running actually sponsored a trip there a few years ago, so that was kind of cool. Does anyone else have questions for Tanara?
I had a quick story.
Okay.
Yeah, I worked at the landfill one summer, and one of the people that worked there said that recycling is a myth, because he would see the recycling trucks go into the landfill and dump off the recyclables there. And I'm like, no, I've been there. Like, I've actually been to the recycling center in Lakewood, and I saw the whole process, and I'm trying to explain to him, but it was just an excuse for him to like not recycle.
Well, we do have a lot of residue, and it depends if something is going on. With the equipment, we had some problems with equipment. Fun story: someone threw a saw blade into the recycling can, and it caught one of our belts perfectly. That costed like $20,000, and over a week of missing recyclables because everything was just going down. They have to like pile it up. It was a mess. So things like that, or getting a new system to capture some of the materials, will definitely create more residue. Mm-hmm. And sadly, a lot of materials will go into the landfill. But yeah, we try to not send that many, but it happens. Not everybody recycles perfectly, and we have things that can be recycled. And that's expensive too. Sending it there.
Did we talk about plastic bags and what happens when they come through your center? I don't know if that's like a big one.
Yeah. So I know you see the plastic and you see the value in it. You're like, that's totally getting recycled there. No, it's not. They tear. They get super dirty. They get wet with some other materials. Just think about the food from other recyclables that were supposed to be there. the trucks tearing everything apart. And then on top of that, our equipment gets jammed with these bags over and over. So there, we get to a point that we have to shut the whole facility down, and someone has to go and cut the plastic bags. Just think about it like your vacuum. So when you have the roller full of hair and some other stuff, and you have to do that just in a giant scale with plastic bags. Not great, not the best job in the world. And it costs money because you're losing production time, you're paying people to do a job that shouldn't be a thing. We improved some of our equipment to reduce this, and it is working, but plastic bags are a huge problem. And if you ever go to a recycling center, you will be shocked of the amount of plastic bags and weird things, not just bags, that we get every single day. And yeah, so just try to avoid them. I mean, there's really not a need for them. I'm not gonna say I never used a plastic bag in the last, couple of years, but I really never remember going to the store without my bags. And if I forget them, I just throw all my groceries back into the cart and go into my car and bag them in my car. And yeah, people will look at you weird, but whatever. I don't care.
I love it. Just for the record, but I just want to reiterate again that you can tour both the recycling center and the Ocean County landfill. And if you tour the Ocean County landfill, they actually built these ridiculously tall fences around the perimeter of the facility. And in part, that is because of the plastic bags flying off the top of the mound. So if you imagine, the trucks dump off the stuff, and then they have to somehow, they can't cover it immediately because during the daytime hours, the trucks are coming in all day long. So they can't cover the garbage immediately. So the bags are flying off the top of the mound of the landfill, and they're flying off the property in some places where they had to build these big, huge like nets to catch the plastic bags like flying objects. And so there's just this wall of plastic bags along the fence, which is super just disturbing. And then in addition to that, they hire falconers to send the falcons across the top of the landfill to scare away gulls and other birds that are kind of scavengers trying to go after the trash. And at first you might be like, well, why don't you just let the gulls go after the trash? No big deal. Well, not only can it be, toxic because we look at all the things we put in our trash, but it can also cause a public health problem with birds carrying the diseases and bacteria and all the things away from the landfill in their, if they're not going to just stay there, they're going to fly off. So the landfill, it can't process plastic bags either very well. It does become a problem there too. So Angela said this in the midst of her discussion, but plastic film and plastic bags, if you see a recycling center for plastic film, so there's boxes at your grocery store sometimes, there's collection programs, plastic film and plastic bags are one and the same and can be recycled together in that way if you end up using them. Also repurposing them for things like dog waste can be useful if you don't have an alternative. That was an argument I heard a lot. Like people were like, what am I going to do with my dog poop once you ban plastic bags? There's solutions. We don't need to go down that rabbit hole. But so repurpose your plastic bags or recycle them the right way. Don't put them in your curbside, anything curbside. Don't put them in the recycling. Don't put them in the landfill garbage. Sorry to go on that. I didn't mean to go on
plastic bag rant.
It's like my lawn rant. Does anyone have any other questions for Tanara? I will check the Facebook.
And also, even if you try to avoid plastic bags, I end up with bags full of bags because if you buy bread, it comes in a plastic bag. If you buy anything, it comes in even cereal, the liner inside is plastic. So you're always going to have some plastic to bring to a store. So just keep it on your trunk. Never open my trunk because it's going to be full of weird stuff, including plastic bags.
All right, so if anyone has any questions, let me know. I'm just going to wrap up here as we go, and I'll ask one more time at the end for questions. But I definitely want to leave you with some solid, clear calls to action because we went over a bunch. They were scattered throughout our discussion. But there were 3 that I kind of felt were really relevant to the film and the work that we're trying to do as a group. So first and foremost, stay up to date on the current Break Free from Plastic advocacy efforts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop a link in the chat for Clean Ocean Action. Clean Ocean Action is a group based in Monmouth County. They serve the whole state, and they were one of the lead groups in helping the plastic bag ban. And they have left information on their website for the Break Free from Plastic campaign, which is, like I said, national. So New Jersey's had a lot of success, but we want to see it on the federal level. So that is definitely something you can do as a call to action. The second thing you can do, and I'm like pasting, copying, reading, and multitasking here, hang on. The next thing you can do is refuse single-use plastics. Tanara made a great point. You vote with your dollar. Every time you buy something, you're telling the manufacturer or whoever that you are supporting this item. So wherever you can reduce single-use plastics in your own behavior, you need to have plastics in your life, obviously, but any place that you can replace plastic silverware with metal silverware or plastic plates with, regular Corelle or glass plates or whatever it is, those are great options that don't put your vote in for those single-use plastics. Obviously, educating other people about what you learned today, I advocate for that. Every single program I do, I say, please share this with someone else. So if you want to share this with someone else, you can either share this Facebook post if you are on Facebook, or when it goes live on YouTube, you can share that link. And obviously, you can share any of the links that we shared with you in this chat, which has resources for how to recycle at the county level. There's so many resources for you. So please share those, share them with your family and friends, and more people will make good decisions in regards to recycling in our community. And obviously, determine where to recycle things. Determining where to recycle things can be kind of difficult. So we kind of went over a lot of them. Plastic bags do not go in curbside. You can check their Ocean County website for single stream plastic instructions. Save Barnegat Bay has some TerraCycle campaigns, and we're going to be collecting things like candy wrappers and pens and razor blades, I think we're up to. So look out for Save Barnegat Bay's resource on TerraCycle issues of that nature. And I just want to close with, highlighting something the film said, and I think it's really true. Don't make yourself crazy about trying to reduce every single piece of plastic that you use, because it's almost unfair as individual consumers for us to be burdened with this task. So do your best as a person that is trying to be more eco-friendly and more planet-friendly and so on, but know that the real change for all of these issues is going to come from the top. So if you are passionate about these issues, please get involved at the level of staying informed about these policy changes at the state level and at the federal level. That is where we're really going to see positive change. And Angela alluded to some of gave us the information for some of those things as well. So if you have any questions, Angela's information is in the chat, and Tanara also put her leads in the chat, kind of. Sustainable Island Heights and Ocean County Recycles are her 2 social media pages. So you can get in touch with her there. Does anyone have any final questions for us before we close out tonight's program?
Yes.
Go ahead, Charles.
I know you are under pressure to talk fast. Sustainable Island Heights, what is that?
Great question.
Is that
All
an
right.
address to reach her, or where she works, or what is it?
It's our social media. So you can find us on Facebook and Instagram. And we always post things about reducing, reusing, recycle, and some other environmental issues. And you can send us a text there, and I will probably answer. If it's not me, then it will be one of our other volunteers, and we will try to help you any way we can.
So they are Facebook addresses? I'm
Yes.
not a Facebook guy.
Yeah. Just if you're on Facebook, you just type Sustainable Island Heights, and that will
Okay.
come up. Events. We have one on Earth Day. Well, on April 24th after Earth Day, and we're gonna be collecting used toys and some other non-recyclables. Well, I like to call them non-traditional recyclables because they don't go curbside, but we'll take them in Island Heights and send them to some other places like TerraCycle or Second Chance Toys or some other places that we can find.
Okay, so one more. Other than
Mhm.
the back of Tanara's trunk in her car, where did you say the plastic bag? Where did you say the plastic bags can be recycled?
You can take them to Lowe's, Home Depot, ShopRite, Target, and I think that's what I can remember right now. Do you know any others that are open right now?
Well,
No.
some of the ShopRites our ShopRite in Mount Hawkins not collecting them anymore, and maybe, but each, even though it's a Wake Fern company, so we just have to watch. But I think Lowe's and Home Depot are probably the best bets, and I think they also said Kohl's.
And so what you would say, instead of seeing, we live in a retirement village, and everybody really about, I would say close to 100%, that your garbage is picked up by means of a plastic bag. So the ideal, you're saying, is just get a cardboard box from the liquor store.
No.
You could never do that.
Not for garbage. No, garbage has to stay in a plastic bag, but recyclables has to be loose in a can.
So in my village, 1,600 homes, they just wanted to. Do many people use robo cans and not put plastic bags in the robo cans?
Well, that's a really excellent question, because that was one of the things I forgot to mention, is that the robo cans are very, popular in a lot of Ocean County, but in my community on Long Beach Island, we still have the traditional, and it doesn't really matter the size of the can, the style of pickup of the can, whatever Ocean County says has to go in them is what goes in them. The problem that happens is people will just put something in the robo can and it's automated, so they don't see it until it gets onto the tipping floor. So they can't, they think like, well, they take it in my town. The robo cans make it harder for the collectors to see what's in there in violation in a can.
But a plastic bag in a robo can did not solve a problem.
No,
Just
it's
gonna blow off
it's
the
gonna
top.
go in the garbage. Yeah, it's gonna be more expensive because the recycling center is gonna have to send it to the landfill, because after it went through the process, there is no way any company will buy it to recycle it.
That was something we didn't go over. Well, we didn't name it, but it's called wish recycling. When you recycle something you wish was recyclable, when you put it in the recycling can, if you're unsure, it's just costing more money, because then the recycling folks have to take it out of the process and then send it to the landfill. So that item has to move twice instead of being personally educated well enough to know where it goes. Your tax dollars are paying for it to move twice.
And that's the most common item, and the number one enemy of recycling, I would call it, is a plastic bag, and other plastics and batteries too, because they cause fires. So you really have to watch whatever you put in your can, because it can blow up or tangle all of the equipment, or just waste your taxpayers' money because it's going in the garbage, literally.
Again, I hate but I'm back over to the garbage collection.
Okay.
You would prefer to somehow pick up our garbage that was not in a plastic bag. Is that correct?
No, garbage is okay to be in a bag.
Even though it blows off the top of the mountain?
Well, so
because they are not gonna open that bag. So if it's bagged and tied up, then it's okay. But if you put loose bags that are gonna be easily blown by the wind, then that's the big problem.
Thank you.
So that's actually a good point, Charlie. If you're putting your recycling in a plastic bag to be recycled, that's not good. So trash, A-okay inside of a plastic bag tied off, like Tanara said. Recycling, not okay to be inside a plastic bag, Not okay to be putting loose bags in there. Any kind of plastic bag in a recycling container is going to cause problems. So basically, you really need to take a tour of the recycling center, but the trucks literally make this giant pile on the ground, and then all that stuff has to get fed into the machines. And so if there are plastic bags holding the recycling together, somebody has to come tear that open, or the machines are going to get all gummed up. So plastic bags in the recycling process at any stage or any level, no bueno. No good, not good. Don't put it in there. But Charlie, that's a great point. I didn't think of saying that.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Brett?
I have a question for Angela. So what did you mean by developing markets? Like developing markets to recycle a certain type of material? Is that what you meant?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly that. So like I was saying, we used to be able to send our glass aggregate material to Snapple or somewhere where you could make another bottle out of glass, or have an end market for it. The bottling industry moved out of Jersey, so that end market kind of disappeared. But we do have end markets, for instance, for glass in New Jersey. But like Tanara said, our product isn't clean enough. So a single stream, glass bottle that material is never going to make it to an end market. We have end markets for fiberglass, insulation. Those types of end markets want nice clean glass, but we can't produce that through the recycling center. So if we were able to secure that deal and say, hey, we'll get you purely clean glass to send to you to make fiberglass, we'll collect it separately outside of the single stream. Those are things that the county kind of starts to look at and say, maybe it's profitable enough to maybe separately collect that material because we have an end market that wants it, but they don't want it once it's been through the recycling center, because it's just too full of things. New Jersey Department of Transportation used to have what they called glass fault. It was not good for the top layer. It was a little bit too sheeny, but that substrate. So Pennsylvania DOT uses glass in their substrate of their roadways. New Jersey stopped. So that's an effort that people are making to be like, hey, New Jersey Department of Transportation, you need to start reconsidering what you're using in your road layering and your aggregates and things like that. So those discussions are happening and creating those end markets within New Jersey to keep the loop tighter and not right now. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tanara. I think our glass goes as landfill cover.
Oh, no.
So the landfill will always buy a cover to layer everything up and make everything safe and secure on the ground. So we are selling the crushed glass as ground cover, which they will buy from some other place in another time. So sadly, I agree, that's not recycling, but that
reuse that saves a resource they would have extracted from the earth anyway.
Yeah, so it saves money from mining or other things, and it saves transportation from them buying this material. If they were going to use glass or something else, they're not going to transport it from another place, and it's easier for us to just bring it to the landfill and reduce cost of trying to dispose of the glass, because no one wants to buy glass from single stream, just like Angela said before.
Oh, why can't they use the plastic in the street to make streets?
Can they Karen is asking, can they use the plastic in the streets?
The technology is available. It's just not here. It definitely is an international strategy it's definitely being used. Yes, absolutely. That technology exists. It's not utilized to my knowledge anywhere in New Jersey, maybe California, but definitely a good point. And yes, it's that is an end use that is being created, and it's an investment in that technology and getting a nice raw material out of the post-consumer use. That might be more of an industrial post-industrial material that could end in that use. Yep, that's a really good point.
I had a question for Grace Ann, Angela, Tanara. What's like your tips for like organized recycling? You know, we have the recycling bin that gets single stream recycling, and you have your trash, which gets pretty much everything else. But you should should there be like other bins for other things?
Food waste and organics. Food waste and organics. The food waste bill got passed in last March, believe it or not, actually April-ish, but so that the food waste recycling bill has been worked on for 5 years in New Jersey, and that bill is so wonderfully written that it says if you produce a certain amount of food waste, you have to send it to a facility within 25 miles. Now, there's only 2 facilities in New Jersey, but what that does is it drives industry to come here and say, hey, I just got guaranteed material within 25 miles of if I put a facility right here. So that's
Right.
helping drive that industry here to us by guaranteeing raw product to come to that food waste recycling. So then we'll start to see smaller scale food waste recycling and processing happening in New Jersey. We have the Core Center up in Waste Management in Elizabeth is the one large scale food waste recycling facility that we have, and they mostly take, it's mostly from like bakeries or expired. But the more we can, you can see Princeton started doing curbside collection. Lambertville started doing curbside collection of food waste scraps. So it's a little bit messy, it's a little bit stinky, but getting those organics and the food waste should absolutely be another bin. The landfill, guess is about 40% of what's in there is a food waste or an organic in the landfill, which is with the food waste bill and the dedication by our really wonderful new DEP commissioner, La Tourette. He's wonderful, very proactive in speaking this language. We really can start, I think we'll begin to see some nice collection of food waste and organics soon.
And if you can start composting in your backyard, is the best thing you can do, because you're reducing transportation and you get all the benefits from the finished product in your own garden. We do free classes at the county. We just did one 1 or 2 weeks ago. It was a webinar. But if you're interested, you can keep your contact information, and next time we do that, we'll send you the link. Or you can also follow us on the social media or the website. You can try to find information there. And if you do the Master Composter program, which is a volunteer program and is 2 full days of beautiful information on composting and recycling, you get a free bin from the county, so you can use it in your backyard. And the organizing other materials, I can tell you, I use my whole garage to recycle this. I call it my other recycling center. I know my husband is not happy about it, but I don't care. It's for the farm. So I try to use so many different buckets. I use the kitty litter buckets for a while because someone gave them to me, and I'm like, oh, these are cool because they have a lid and they are thick. But then now I have too many materials that I'm collecting. So here I go.
That many. Wow.
TerraCycle, I collect chip packaging, and they have this special brand. So I just have a cardboard box. So when it's full, I just put the label and I ship it. So I'm not gonna put it in a. So this specific brand is called Late July. It's like an organic tortilla. I love tortillas. So we eat them often, and so that's what I do. I just have the box and I fill it up, and when it's ready, I just send it over. For some of the other stuff, I still use the kitty litter. For example, the toothpaste tubes, toothbrushes, and things like that. They have another free program with TerraCycle, so I do that one. Then they have the beauty products, which include some pumps, some lids, and some containers. So I do that. It gets really confusing if I explain it like that. So I just recommend you to go to the TerraCycle website, or with Island Heights, we collected during the farmer market season, and we make a list of the items we're going to collect. And say Barnegat Bay is doing the same thing, collecting some items that are easy and clean, and we can just send it to the recycle, and it's free.
Can
So
I
yes.
give a plug for the shell when we're done? But Brett, did you ask about what chipboard was? Like gray and brown chipboard are like a cereal box or a tissue box, as opposed to like a corrugated cardboard.
I think it was a chips packaging.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to know what chipboard was. Okay.
Don't go there.
So we down here on Long Beach Island, Long Beach Township just won a nice Recycling Excellence Award for leadership as a municipality, because we collect oyster and clam shells from all the restaurants on the island to be reused into the Tuckerton Research Reef over in the bay in Little Egg Harbor here, right off of town. And we do that in partnership with Jetty and Stockton University and Parsons Agriculture Center. So we really would love to start seeing the county make that a county thing, that everybody in Ocean County recycles their oyster and clam shells and gets that out of the Ocean County landfill. But we started that in 2017 after we launched the Oyster Farmers film as a call to action from that film that I produced.
Beautiful. Yes.
So you can recycle clamshells?
On the restaurants on Long Beach Island, and we would love to start seeing it be a county thing. So I've presented to the county a couple times. So.
Yeah. Well, but clamshells from clams, right? No plastic clamshell container.
Clam shells and oyster shells from raw bars and restaurants. So we're working on it. Follow the shell. If you put in follow the shell, you can learn about our oyster recycling partnership here, stemmed out of the Long Beach Island area.
So if you can put that link in the chat while I just highlight a few more things. So follow the shell is for oyster shell. And I am trying to implement something in the northern part of the county in regards to oyster shell recycling. The problem is it's a stinky business and no one kind of wants it like right on top of their own stuff. So we're hopefully there'll be more things down the pike for that.
But we have a perfect model here, so we know it can work.
Yeah, no, I'm all about it. I don't mind the stink. I love composting. I love shell recycling, but everyone else is like, we have to do business here. Anyway, so Angela put follow the shell in there, and then I put the link to TerraCycle in there, which is based in Trenton, and they're international now, which is super cool that New Jersey was the home base for TerraCycle. And if you are like me and you live in an apartment and you can't properly compost safely without causing vermin problems, you can hire Unwaste. Unwaste is a young woman who started a business, and she will pick up your compost every week. So you can collect it in a bucket, and if you want to pay for a service to come pick up your compost,
she'll collect the food waste, not the compost. The food scraps.
Oh, right. Sorry,
Food waste.
Good correction. Sorry. So it's you don't have to compost it first. You just send her your food waste, your banana peels, your lettuce ends, your orange peels, or anything organic, butt ends of vegetables and stuff like that.
Where is she based out of, Grace Ann?
She is based out of Monmouth County, but she serves Monmouth and
It's Wall, right? Wall Township. Yeah.
And she picks it all up and she composts it at a farm nearby. So her company is called Unwaste. I put that link in the chat as well. So I also put it on the Facebook chat if those of you are still in there. Is there anything else that we missed? I think we covered the gamut of recycling. Oh my gosh.
Question. I've tried to copy down the things you put in the chat. Is there, and do you have the ability to provide us with all of those things in an email or something? Because all I have to do is misspell something and I lost it.
So I can absolutely do that. I can provide everyone who signed up for this session and all of you that are here the information that we put in the chat so that you can digest it again. I know there was a lot of resources, so yes, I can absolutely do that.
And one, I served on the Dover Township Recycling Committee many years ago. And I was writing down things from the chat at the time when you discussed gray board. What did you say about gray board?
Gray board and chipboard are a compressed, like a composite of.
Oh, no, I know what it is.
That we don't
Back
accept
then, it was
that.
not recycled.
No, we don't. We don't want gray chipboard or brown chipboard. We just
Okay.
want that corrugated cardboard or like a mixed paper. That compressed, chipboard is still no
Okay.
good. So
Corrugated.
Doesn't have any life left, so you can't recycle it anymore into something valuable. But you can compost it if you are into compost.
one of the other R's. There's three.
So
There's at least three. There's probably 50.
I just want to thank everyone for being here. We had a pretty good, everyone stayed on and stayed engaged, which is really fantastic. This issue is really complex and has a lot of edges to it. So we could easily continue to go on and on and on, but we've been on for an hour and a half. So I just want to wrap things up. I want to thank you all for being here. I will send a follow-up email with all of these resources and the recording of this on YouTube so that you can watch it again or share it with others. And you are always welcome to send questions to education@saverunningabay.org, which is my direct email, or Angela's email, or Tanara's email, which I will provide all of you with. Stay in touch with all of our socials. That's the best way to learn more about all these things. We can rattle these things off really fast. We don't expect any of you to immediately remember every single thing and where to go with it. So just start with one thing. Start with one item, one piece of plastic, and learn where it goes, and then start adding to it. Don't feel like you have to be a hero all at once. We've been doing this for a few years now, so it's okay to start at the beginning. Thank you all so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.